Hello and welcome to my Hope After Stroke documentary pitch. I am Stanley Parish. If you look to the left, there is a list of contents if you need to reference that. So basically my pitch is for a stroke documentary, but I have a new take on this and I will elaborate on that right now because with this current state of stroke videos, it's very much exploitive or just information, lots of you can see one of them is just an hour-long university-styled lecture. One of them's kind of minor stroke caption video, kind of a bit exploitative. And if you were a stroke survivor, would this be any help to you? No, it would not. If you were to look for someone to turn to within the media, there would be nothing to help you. It's just these sort of videos. And these videos generally just lack no personality or voice. It's just not helpful. And so I thought I'd have a new spin on this and try and make one with someone that had like a figure that someone could understand and get behind. So, with that character in mind, this is Steve. He's a stroke survivor, and he's generally very entertaining. He's quite strange, and what's great about him as a candidate for this is that he's very good-spirited, and the stroke has not completely redefined him. He's still got his core personality, but he is disabled enough where he can represent that stroke survivors. So, as you can see, in 2011 he was in France, in 2013 he was going on big walks, whereas in 2018 he's kind of just staying with his dog, going to cafes. But in all the photos he's still maintained good spirit. So, despite things changing, he's still fine. If we were to recap what his character kind of is, you'd say probably goofy, lighthearted and hopeful. And if you need an example of that, then look no further than this video, I expect.
Oh my god.
So yeah, he's definitely very strange. And, perfect for the tone of an uplifting and hopeful perspective. And yeah, if we're to work with that tone, I would aim to have a vibrant and homely colour palette, which, as you can see from these shots below, these are kind of just concept shots, and I think that kind of conveys very nicely with that. So that's the kind of visual look you'd be looking at. Obviously, stroke is nothing that can be dismissed. It's still very serious. I can't keep at this uplifting and happy tone all the time. I can't dismiss it because I don't want to offend anyone. So to give a real point of view as well as my own bias, I will use archive footage and interviews to just show these literally, to really show like a down-to-earth explanation of what a stroke can be like in this case. And if I want to expand on that, if I want to really bring out all that I can, I will need a narrative hook which can expose everything I want to say. And a narrative hook is basically a drive that keeps an audience enticed. And so I think a good way of doing that would be a overall thematic and literal question, which I have concluded would be the question, is there hope after stroke? And that would be a great driving force of the plot to bring out everything I want to say. So, if we look more into the structure now, we will start off with a setup, in Act 1, where we start with an interview with a nurse professional, and this will basically set the tone, the theme, and establish a subject, and hopefully, when learning about all these kind of just a general stroke recap, you'll be enticed to know what it's actually like on a person, and so that will lead us to Act 2, the confrontation, which then will have an actual proper look at a stroke survivor, Steve. Obviously in this act you'd also be expecting some rising tension, so we'd have more cutaways, and the cutaways would consist of archive footage, and the carer responding to the same questions as Steve, so that, if Steve is... So not only will it increase the tension with more cutaways, but also it will help bring what Steve's saying to life, because he may not be able to express what he's trying to say the best with his disability. So this would just also work as a great way of conveying what he's saying. And if we finish this off with Act 3, the resolution. So looking back at the original aim, an uplifting take on strokes. Obviously, throughout this journey with all these questions, this could have been quite negative, so I need to make this clearer than ever that it is generally an uplifting sort of documentary. And so, to make this point blank obvious, I will actually ask the question to all of the interview people: is there hope after stroke? And hopefully they can give their own take, and I can get loads of different perspectives, and it will give the audience something definitive to walk away with when they have finished the documentary. There are issues with this. So ethically, I will need to be very sure that I'm not exploiting my character, because Steve has, of course, got a mental disability. I need to be sure that he is extra aware of what he's signing up for. I don't want to invade his privacy, even if it is by accident. I have to be extra sure with this. Also, the character is high risk, so I will need to consider production because of COVID-19. And also, I'm aware this is quite an ambitious idea, so I should also prepare for contingencies, as some of the characters might not be available. That is 3 different people I'm asking for, so I should be prepared to make sacrifices and have backup plans ready. To conclude, I just want to recap everything that I kind of want to achieve, just so you can get it all in a big chunk. So yeah, I want to shed a new light on strokes for stroke survivors to look up to, not just someone studying a stroke. If not that, then an interesting viewing experience for the least. Obviously raise awareness of strokes, and I also want to give people a more real and personal look into the effects. I don't want to give someone just an explanation of what it is. I want people to have a down-to-earth look into what it's like living with a stroke. Yeah, thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
I do, yeah. So, why do you think now is the best time for this documentary?
Well, there's no, it's not necessarily more relevant than ever, but I would say that, as I mentioned, there is a gap in the market. There is a lack of personal, down-to-earth documentaries, so it's more just filling out a gap that hasn't been filled yet.
Okay. Who is this aimed at? Is it aimed at stroke survivors or carers or?
Primarily stroke survivors, but also second in line would probably be people who need to who have known someone close to them who's had a stroke and need some more information on what it's like to live with someone like that. So and if you were a carer, for example, you could also have a bit more perspective on what a stroke is like.
Okay. What about in terms of budget? So there's quite a lot of budget required, or?
Not necessarily. If I have the equipment available to me, it should just be a case of meeting them. They're all voluntarily up for doing it, so it's just travel costs, I suppose. I will have to look more into that, but yeah, it shouldn't be anything too grand of a production.
Okay, no worries. All good.
Is that all good?
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right. Well, thank you.